That is dangerous. So let's talk about 5 common reasons why you need to replace your wheel bearing and why you should not put this off. A growling noise like that one is one of the most common symptoms of a bad wheel bearing. Now this means that the grease inside has completely gone away, it's riding metal on metal, and it does not have much longer until it fails completely. You want to pinpoint which corner of the vehicle has that bad bearing so you can replace the correct one. And if you need a bolt-on bearing or a press-on bearing, or both if multiple have gone bad, 1A Auto's got you covered. Second on our list is wheel bearing play, and this means that the bearings inside have carved out their seat to the point where they can move around way more than they should. So if you grab the wheel and you wiggle it, no matter where you grab it and move it, it's going to move around. And this can cause uneven tire wear, it can cause a wandering feeling as you're driving down the road, clunking over bumps, and it's overall very dangerous to drive on it like this. And here's a tip, if we remove this wheel, we can see that even the rotor will move because it's the entire hub assembly on that bearing. So this can actually affect your brakes as well. The third thing we're going to talk about is damage caused to the wheel bearing by the removal of another component. Let me explain. On the wheel hub, you have the axle that goes through and you have a brake rotor that mounts on there. Now, the axle can seize due to rust to the point where it requires excessive force to remove. Sometimes that can cause damage to the wheel bearing as you try to push it out of there with a large hammer or an air chisel. The same thing can happen from a seized rotor, and just so you can understand, this being the more common situation, let's remove the caliper and the rotor and look how much surface area this has to rust. So if the hub wasn't prepped properly before the installation of this rotor, it is likely to be very stuck on there due to rust. Trying to remove either of those two items can end up damaging the wheel bearing and therefore will warrant a replacement of the wheel bearing. Fourth on our list will be damaged threads. Now, if your vehicle has lug bolts instead of studs with lug nuts, it will be more common for the threads to fail on the hub side because that's where the bolt goes in to clamp on your wheel. If that thread gets damaged, well, you just have to replace it. There's no other option, especially if it's a wheel hub and bearing assembly that bolts on, you just put a new one on. Another thing is if you have lug studs with nuts, which are replaceable individually, but in this case, for example, you have no space to punch the stud out, so you'd have to remove the wheel bearing to do that. Well, when you do that, you might as well think about why did the stud get damaged? Is it just cross-threaded, or did you maybe hit a pothole? And that could have also damaged the wheel bearing. Therefore, you might as well replace the whole thing when you pull it out to replace your stud. Fifth on our list is a damaged surface. If the face of the hub is excessively rusted to where you can't properly clean it up, or it's been sanded down too far from a previous repair, or has dents on it from a hammer maybe from a previous repair, that is not a great surface to mount a rotor and then a wheel on. So you would want to replace it. Now, if it's a bolt-on assembly, you just replace the whole thing. In most cases, replacing a bolt-on wheel bearing is not all that difficult. You'd have to remove the wheel, the caliper, the rotor, then you remove the axle nut if you have one, remove the wheel bearing, put the new one on, coat it with some anti-seize so it doesn't rust in the future, then put back your rotor, your caliper, and your wheel.